I hope everybody's doing well. Where are we at? I hope y'all are doing well, doing good. All that. As you come in, if you can hear me, I'm clumsily getting the stream set up. My name is Duck. Welcome to Duck's Why. This is a YouTube channel. We're dedicated to having a little bit of fun, a little bit of honesty, being able to talk about whatever it is we wanted to talk about. And I'm going to set up a poll, and then we're going to get going, folks. And the poll is just going to say, smash like. Friendos. Check. Heck yeah. Yeah, party. Yeah, but feel free to come say hi in chat. I spend most of my stream. And if you can hear me, I just had to plug in a mic. It would be a huge favor if you could just say yes or no, you can hear me. Yeah, and all that kind of stuff. Whoops, I gotta put my phone in this stupid little phone. It's not stupid, but it is weird little phone holder type deal, device sort of situation. There we go. There we go. Welcome to Duck's Why. I hope everybody's having a good night. I hope y'all are feeling good, doing well, doing good. I do have my laptop up. If you guys, I titled the stream Culture. I titled, we're going to party until the channel hits 500 subscribers. We need 28 more. It's a completely arbitrary number. It's way more important that we're all able to just kind of hang out, have a little bit of fun. Maybe not too much fun, but a little bit of fun. Somebody earlier, I did an actual stream earlier, and somebody asked what it means to have a friend. I told him I don't know. I told him I don't know what it is like to have a friend. I let the culture tell me that. Hey, what's up, tacos from the left-leaning people that for the video I did today. Yeah, Breakfast Tacos dropped a video today. Breakfast Tacos is an atheist that knows how to party. So I'd recommend checking out his channel if you guys like YouTube. If you folks are big into the YouTube space, everybody's welcome there. And yeah, I think I left a comment of support on the video. Breakfast Tacos posted a video about centrism. Not very exciting for the culture, right? Nobody wants to watch Joe Rogan. Nobody wants to tune into Joe Rogan's show and hear someone saying, well, you know, I can actually see healthcare both ways. You know, I can see that, yeah, we should talk about social health and diet, and we should talk about mental health and stuff. But I could also see at the other side that we need to have like a debate about capitalism or socialism. People don't think like that. It's not exciting. You guys, you guys and myself included, like, you know, spent the last 10 years listening to guys like Peter Attia. Tell me if I'm wrong. Listening to guys like Peter Attia, tell us that, like, make a decision for me, please. You know, baby doll, make the decision for me. Make this easier. Make this 10 times easier than you thought it was going to be. We're going to just do a slight adjustment here. Slight adjustment. Cool. Yeah, and so, between the culture wars, there is also this sort of complete, like, lack of cultural resonance, where it's like, oh my gosh, you know, pretty easy for me to decide how I want to be. Pretty easy for me, folks. Hey, what's up, Maverick, Lass, and Big Dave, aka Big Dave, aka Dave, aka Dave Wilson. Good to see you. Never too much fun. Do I ride a motorcycle? I do not. I do not ride a motorcycle. I wish I did. I wish I had that sort of living on the edge mentality sometimes, but I got to find other ways to go do that. You've been building any, leave that off chat. You know, I'm a very peaceful person. That's my culture. Those are my people. Noam Chomsky. I love those folks. I love them. I love me some of them people. Oh, the Unabomber. What was that guy's name? My brain is a mess. But yeah, he was the mathematician that went to Harvard, lived in the woods. He grew a disdain for society and believed he could do something about it by spreading violence in society. Ted Kaczynski, yeah. Ted Kaczynski. Yeah, they've made a Netflix show about him. He did a series, actual Ted Kaczynski did a series of shows on, or a series of interviews from jail as well. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Yeah. Um, yeah, Ted Kaczynski is definitely a guy who rode a motorcycle. Ted Kaczynski, when you think of culture, people, I believe we all have to take responsibility for our actions. Even when we have big ideas, maybe your big idea is one day I'll invest in real estate, or one day I want to work for the UN, or one day I want to, open a restaurant or whatever. I want to open a restaurant one day. Um, you know, when folks sort of think like that, whatever it is, um, you know, uh, yeah, like your goal obviously can't be like I want to become a domestic terrorist. That's not culture. But it is wild when people say it's harder, right? Let's talk about this kind of stuff. It's harder to make an ethical choice if you're in business. It's hard to do the right things for multiple different groups of stakeholders. It's hard to look at your community, your friend group, and say, well, would they approve of this stuff? Would they understand how I'm kind of coming to these decisions and stuff? Um, Brian Danielson, I don't know who that is. I could open a Jack in the Box franchise. Yeah, absolutely. You can buy a Jack in the Box. You could sell cell phones, all that kind of stuff. All that stuff's valid, whatever, valid. And yeah, once you put something somewhere, it's there. That's the thing is, that's how a lot of small business owners in the United States view things. By the way, if you guys want to hit subscribe, helps me out a ton. If you guys enjoy the content, we're trying to make content for everybody. Everybody's welcome to comment, serious, not serious, whatever it is. Hey, Raquel Petri, your message got blocked. Raquel asks if I'm Jewish. I'm not Jewish. I have some European heritage, I think, just based on grandpa stuff. But I'm not Jewish. And yeah, small business owners, by the way, they talk about this thing about like once something is there, you have customers, you know the two rules of business, know your customers and hire well. If you do those two things, your business is going to be there forever, and then you live with it, right? Then you live with it. And yeah, so that's just one of those interesting things. I don't know, la cultura, the culture around this stuff. I think people do sometimes make too much or too little of, kind of choices, decisions around whatever it is, choices and decisions around, pretending like different people don't have different opinions or perspectives, or they do. Why would this be? I don't know. I'm not sure. Hercules, do I have to look up Brian Danielson? Mason says, Jewish people are European. They just turned into an ethnicity to use as a shield. Now, when you criticize the people who are within them, you are anti-Semitic. Yeah, that's one opinion, there's individuals. Sometimes individuals have shared culture and history. Sometimes that definition makes sense itself within like nationalism. I was just talking earlier today about patriotism and nationalism with people. You don't have to believe that, but and so yeah, it's to me that's always clarifying. It's like, well, are people criticizing Jewish people because they disagree with the state of Israel? I'd rather have a quality conversation. That's my opinion. That's my culture, right? Those are my people. People that would say, let's talk about the actual issue and the politics. And if something else comes up, if history does come up, we can be adults and have a mature conversation. I don't want people, dog whistling, horse calling, cat calling, all that kind of crap, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's the history of it for anyone who used to be able to be a Jew in the old days, for instance, Christ. Yeah, I think anyone today can still, whatever. Julian Fry says, I heard you. Yeah, am I talking too loud? I can try to talk a little bit quieter. It's Monday, isn't it? It's Monday. Any folks just getting off work or whatever, shout out to you. Respect the hustle, respect the grind. Hope you all kicked off your Monday in a decent way. Got to learn something. Those little 15-second, 2-minute moments of feeling something nice. That's great. Feeling like you're both putting in and getting something out of that sort of work process. To me, that buys a lot of space to be whatever. Dale Cooper asks, Ducky, are you bisexual? I don't really talk about my personal life on the internet. No, that's the short answer. No, everybody's welcome here, right? If someone was bisexual, I wouldn't encourage you to talk about, personal details on the internet ever, but, so yeah, that's that. Oh, what's up, Duck and Duck's channel members? Happy Monday. Amber, thanks for joining. We've got Amber in chat, one of our awesome moderators. Julian Fry says, I heard my grandpa was anti-Semitic. All right. What's your carry piece? Yeah, if you have an opinion about 2A, let me know. I don't have a strict opinion about Second Amendment stuff. I don't. These hands are clean, right? These are hands that I think this is how you do it. These are hands that can make a fist, can move that fist around in other directions, right? But again, one of the themes when we're talking about culture, once something is there, it sort of seems to be there. Once I make a stupid title, like we're gonna stream until I get 28 new subscribers, so I have some arbitrary number, 500. I can't get rid of that. That's on my mind. That's on the stream. It probably shouldn't be. I don't care. We went hard with 10 people today, talking about nationalism, patriotism, leadership, all that kind of stuff. And so that's what I prefer. But yeah, if you're a 2A person, cool, whatever. I don't have an opinion for you. I can make a fist. I can move my arm in some way. I don't personally think of myself as someone who thinks in a violent way or like a fighting way. I hope that's acceptable. I hope that's good enough for the red pill folks in the audience right now. Because once that's there, then you have to explain to yourself. You have to explain to mom and dad at Christmas time. Why you have all these ideas about desk lamps or shoes or whatever it is. I don't know. I got boots on. Yeah, Siddharth is right. Siddharth Vikram Singh says you need to really visit a hairdresser. Yeah, that's a great point. I'm trying to not, with the start of my stream career, trying to not lose the forest for the trees. Speaking of not losing the forest for the trees, if anyone's enjoying the stream, come say hi in chat first and foremost. Whatever, I'll try and hopefully say something that resonates with you. If you want to like the stream and subscribe, that's cool as well. But I appreciate y'all, and thanks for hitting those reacts down there. I'll respond to comments with emojis. I'll respond to comments without emojis and stuff too. I'm getting a bunch of pop-ups on my laptop here. Let's see. Hey, Fatty, good to see you again. And Suresh Strong, hello again to you as well. It's good to see some of y'all again. Yeah, Ambersand knows mathematics. Some of those biological principles. That's another thing. Once it's there, it's tough to get rid of. Once it's there, it's tough to get gone. We've got a natural interpretation, a naturalist interpretation of the world says that our brains, how we think about ourselves, how we think about security, these really big questions come from actually, 450,000 going on 10 million years, of human evolution, sometimes longer, when you look back at hominid fossils that are 3 million years old, those were people that might understand something like that. The privacy ship, I don't totally agree or disagree, Amber. Big Rig, what's up? Yeah, we're talking about culture. We're talking about you can't change what's already there. Just this kind of stuff. I put a really stupid title to the video. No offense. But yeah. We're close to 500 subscribers on the channel, which is very silly. But yeah, Julian Fries asks, good to see though, how you would think anti-Semitism would have died in the 20th century. Yeah, that's possibly true. That's maybe true. Anti-Semitism would have died in the 20th century. People like Steven Pinker, there's people that study this sort of like the tribal connections in our brains. I don't know that you can take too much away from it. Yeah, and that's it, right? That's it. yeah, people want to build a strategy. They want to be rational based on this idea of hatred or not knowing, missing something. And, it's one of the mistakes that unfortunately we see repeated throughout history. And so, yeah, I'd encourage folks, even in those, you know, optimistically in those 15-second moments in your work, your day-to-day life, whatever it is, yeah, find something that didn't work. It's not a winning idea. It's not producing anything else new. It doesn't lead you anywhere. So I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. Does Trump want to get rid of the Italians and the Irish? Yeah, that's an old idea in, my family came from Chicago, so I'm aware with that. You reading anything currently? I should. I was thinking about going to the library, and just getting some books that I have so I can read them. No, I should really catch up on that. I should. I should. I wish more books were written for more different types of people. But yeah, that's partially why, in college, I liked really deeply studying small passages. I still do that when I sort of try and learn a new topic or whatever, you know, and then, yeah, getting ready for a debate or prep for a show or something like that, I'll try and go a little deeper. But yeah, not right now. Sorry. Yeah, Julian Fries. Yeah, it's a crazy. So if you guys ever go to Wikipedia and look up hominid fossils, most of them recovered in Africa. There are tons. There's tons of different hominid species that we have fossils from. So that's kind of cool. That's a big story, right? That's one of those huge stories where we have all of human history for like really things probably very adjacent or close to human history for nearly 3 million years coming out of this one place, right? Coming out of this one continent while you have the rest of the earth happening. And before that, those would have been stories that came from someplace else. Before that, you don't have a narrative about human brains, but you do have a story about brains, right? I don't know, right, wrong, whatever. So you're not wrong. Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm also going to remove that comment at least this time. Yeah, if someone has a political opinion or something, always feel free to share. We always appreciate seeing it. And yeah, try and substantiate it or provide enough information that we can discuss it. Yeah, and that kind of stuff. I heard Phoenix has a lot of crime and the cops are pretty redneck. Yeah, maybe it's a big city, so like any other big city, it's got, our police departments have a decent amount of technology, decently funded, fairly modern police department. Phoenix has social challenges, like it's so hot in the summer. And so, yeah, just like, kind of considering that you have urban areas, suburban areas, this kind of stuff, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I'd have to research a little more. I could be more involved in local politics. Fatty asks, how can you give a piece of advice, or can you give a piece of advice? How do you talk with someone who is extremely Catholic and think that you, the atheist, should just believe the same as them? Yeah, I would point to the fact that the Roman Catholic Church has a long history of embracing science, and to some extent, even what is just secular science. It's just the science for what it is. Traditionally, a lot of the Catholic, and I'm not Catholic, but if I was Catholic, I didn't have a problem talking to people that were atheists at the time. So, yeah, it might just be the case that's not someone that you talk to about beliefs and serious topics and stuff like that. It could also just be the case that you actually have more in common than you think. In values like dignity or having a moral position where people are means, not ends, or are ends, not means in themselves, right? We don't use people to accomplish something. Those are all different ideas. Those are all different ways to approach a problem or to achieve an objective or something. Hey, Mohammed Dean, good to see you. Good to see you. Um, yeah, heartwarming stories. Heartwarming stories. Yeah. Catholics made a big deal about suffering in the Bible. I think Catholics made a big deal about the fact that Jesus died on the cross. This isn't me doing apologetics for Catholicism because I'm not Catholic, but I also think it's true that being able to appreciate very different human experiences helps us get a philosophical understanding of something. How can you not know what it's like to experience something? How can you approach something totally crazy out of the blue, new, and you don't know where to go, where to look for an answer. You don't know if it's good information for like your worldview or your work or something, or you don't know if it's just something, like a living, breathing soul should know this, right? This is like secular atheist rabbinical school. How do I know? How do I know if I should know this? Please do tell. Yeah, it looks like we got a couple people that know about Phoenix. Sheriff Arpaio. Sheriff Arpaio. Yeah, Sheriff Arpaio was a tryhard. He was a tryhard. If you don't know, he's Sheriff Joe Arpaio. It was like a global celebrity. People around the world knew who he was. And it's because he made inmates, people with a sentence for internment, would have to wear pink underwear. They would be wearing pink underwear, right? And yeah, just because Arizona is so large, and we had a high incarcerated population, long sentences and stuff sometimes too. Well, that the stress of that on the prison system led to something called tent city, which was people being locked up outside. And so you get the sheriff who does these sort of humiliating things to people, and that's that story, right? Duck, pink underwear. Hey, David, good to see you. Tent City. Rebel Duster, good to see you again. Good to see you again. Rebel Duster is a close friend of the channel. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. If anyone wants to hit like and subscribe, I always appreciate it so much. Like I am a boop, boop, boop. I am a live streaming robot. Please help me boost this stream so I can live my dream. He should have gone to prison for abusing inmates. Yeah, we should have had conversations about the way that society views behavior that normally isn't understood in society. I understand someone getting a college degree. I understand someone getting their first job, their second, their third job. I understand somebody getting promoted. I understand someone buying a house. I understand people can buy different stuff, whatever it is. Maybe that's not a sheriff's problem, but if you're in law enforcement and you're not able to take the most important social narratives that are impacting the safety of your community, ooh. Yeah, and sometimes people just want to know in a positive way. Sometimes people just want to know that we are as a community solving long-term problems for people. We're taking a long-term approach that is putting human dignity as well as rights in the Constitution above other things. And so, there's a long legacy of people trying to wiggle out of those justice conversations. I don't know what else to say, guys. 10 people, only 4 likes. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, he was convicted. Trump pardoned him. Hey, Gigi, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. Good to see you. Good to see you. Trump pardoned Ulbricht, the Silk Road Dread pirate Roberts. Yeah, that was a wild story. That was a wild story, folks. Kind of on the theme of, culture, la cultura, the culture, cultural freedom. Whoops, it says la culture. I'm from Arizona. I made a stream called Law Culture, folks. Don't think I was doing anything other than that. I can fix that, folks. Jalapenos and the culture. Yeah, very spicy story. A very spicy story that if you're looking, let's just imagine you're a developer or a programmer. Maybe you do actually authentically believe this sort of anarchical world, and you suddenly realize that it's really difficult, it takes a long time, and you don't have a large impact when you build a company or you go to work for someone else's company, but you can somehow build your values by selling narcotics online. And yeah, this puts both of those skill sets to work. You get to be an anarchist, you get to manage community safety from an anarchist perspective, and you get to make money, and you get to code. And so that sort of psychology dominating people is, yeah, absolutely present in the Ross Ulbricht story. I totally have empathy just because I think young people are very smart. I'm 35, so I'm also a young person. If you're older than me, I think young people are smart. I also think it's probably more true that it's probably more true that someone like Ross Ulbricht, if he had the chance to be 30 years old or 35 years old and think about the problem of drug abuse, think about the problem of drug production, manufacturing, and distribution. If he had a chance to think about why people say this is illegal, or it has to be, even if it's complicated and you disagree, it has to be a social conversation. It doesn't change that he could have resulted in serious harm, including death, besides the other stuff he was accused of. Yeah, Julian Fry's nailed it. What's 100 million in drug distribution between friends? You'd have to be pretty close friends, I'd imagine. Yeah, Amber, I think that's partially true. I would imagine if you went to a community of lawyers, a magic island of lawyers in Arizona who knew about Arpaio's processes and systems for everything he was trying to do, I think you could find people with legal basis to imagine that legal and social and cultural basis that what he was doing was wrong, as it turned out. It was wrong. Yeah, deterrence is often used as well. A lot of times people say, well, geez Louise, deterrence is such an important aspect of crime. And yeah, it can be. But how does a legal system determine that? Who knows? Big time problems, right? It doesn't matter if you're stressed or not. That's a problem, is, who's actually a repeat offender? Who is actually like, so let me understand, you're reactive about certain things. Let me actually, and I'm not saying, I need all the details or something. I'm saying, so you're actually reactive or like into, drug trafficking or whatever. Yeah, ASMR channel. Daniel Shavers, I haven't, Rebel Duster. I can look up Daniel Shavers. Daniel Shavers, folks. Oh, he was some dude that got killed by the police in a hotel room. Yeah, that's really tragic. So someone called the police because of a pellet gun out the window, and yeah, he got killed by the police. Hey, Ismail, Idris, sorry, I can't help. I can't help. Thanks, Amber. And yeah, I wish I could. I wish I could and I could, right? Yeah, God bless you too, though. Thank you. Good luck. Good luck. The noob to pro guy, it's all over my screen right now. Oh, what happened? Yeah, get a blue light shield or something, right? A bunch of bull crap. That's sort of the streaming culture too. And if you need help with like your eyes and stuff, there's an app for that. There's a device for it. There's a way to help someone somewhere live in their little technical environment in a way that's really amenable to what they do. Yeah, I'd like to do that. I was going to set up a Discord later tonight, but yeah, I just not for like everyone here, but there's a couple people that actually asked, and I use Discord anyways. But yeah, I'd love to talk about like stream setups and what's actually worth the money, right? Should you just go donate 15 or 20 bucks somewhere, or should you buy a new device for a stream setup or a work setup or an entertainment setup? Who knows? Maybe both. Maybe just one. Yeah, Suresh Strong. So I think there was a long period of time where there wasn't transparency, there wasn't sufficient evidence that there were processes for training and things like this. It seemed like the police relationship with the public skewed to be adversarial versus reactive and solving within a specified bound of, like a police engagement or an interaction or something. And when you look at the politics of this, you had politicians who had nothing to do with the police in the first place talking about being tough on crime. Let's fund these initiatives without presenting the other options, without presenting even the stories, even if you're going to fund the police. All this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, it's not only because I have law enforcement in my family, retired or otherwise, but yeah. Hi, sir, to you as well. Hi, sir, person, to you as well. The new pro guy says, oh yeah, baby, we going on them. We're going on this, baby. It was during the Black Lives Matter days, but he was white, so NBD. Yeah, who knows? I would need more information about the case to actually have an opinion on this. It sounds like his parents sued the inn afterwards. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Crazy story. Yeah, body cams, tasers. Yeah, absolutely. It's also true. I would just advise people use your eyes, use your ears, use your brain, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, when you look at a police officer, everyone obviously hopes they feel safe, they feel confident, they feel supported. And what a police officer often is, it's a security, it's a tall S, capital S security job, right? They're wearing lots of equipment that defines how people should see that sort of aspect of the engagement. And so, I had a close friend back in the day. He was kind of a hippie, and he said, I think the police should just carry around wooden sticks. If my dad was a cop, I would want my dad carrying a wooden stick. If my dad was a police officer or a detective, he advanced through the police department, I think they should carry a wooden stick. And yeah, I think this sort of illustrates that there's so many reasons to support both ex-convicts as well as police officers. There's so many reasons. And it's also like, well, you also are perhaps a 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 person that can do this job. And you also said yes to going and doing that job instead of doing something else. Right? So solve your own problems, folks. Solve your own problems. Really take it seriously, and then we talk about it. And then we talk about it. That's my culture. Those are my people, folks. Those are my people. Apparatus of violence for the state. Yeah, it can appear that way. It can appear that way, but there's also laws on the books that I think keep people safe. Lots of people in the United States have DUIs. There's probably about an equal number that have a domestic violence charge, and I think there's probably a reason why even these very common sort of events that happen, even if they're dramatic, probably stressful, coming from stress or something. Police officers do those things too, so some probably do a good job. What brand of jockstrap do you wear? I don't know. Isn't Speedo like an official brand? Super Yacht Chef, I think Speedo is. Yeah, I'd wear a Speedo, I guess. I don't know. When you get old enough, you realize the debate about boxers and briefs wasn't important. Whoops. Jordan S says, yo, back to you, Jordan S. Oh, too much info. I just got rickrolled. Give me 1 sec, folks. Very rudely here getting a, what's it called? Very rudely getting my stupid nicotine stick. We all have bad habits. There we go. I'm just putting a poll up. Yeah, what do you guys think about culture nowadays? I know that's a really big question, but do you feel like when people what's it called, like Donald Trump or big intellectuals, big time thinkers, do you feel represented? Your ideas or beliefs, how you see the world, do they speak to you? Not only that, but like social media influencers like Destiny or whoever it is, Destiny, Pisco, you've got your Tim Pool, you got Andrew Wilson, you got all kinds of people all over the universe streaming, Not So Erudite, you got the Whatever podcast. Do you feel like what you want to believe in the future is being represented? Jordan S, what do you do for a living? I did lots of things for a living for a long time. I did lots of things for a living for a long time. Yeah. And so, if anybody has questions about work, customer service, sales, management, executive leadership, you can look to the guy in the bum ass apartment and either trust me or not trust me. Your choice. Tech investors or whatever. I don't know. That stuff's interesting. Everybody has an SDK API now. Everything is done by workflow. Is your management team think workflows are important? Yeah, Suresh. Just in terms of attention, but that's interesting. Donald Trump said, I think that's really fascinating. Donald Trump says, I think there is taxes earmarked for far-right political beliefs without a discussion or dialogue. Not really. And so, you get this, the way I see it, very somewhat pessimistically. But yeah, like, does Charlie Kirk, he's a big time guy, Candace Owens, do they tell people what they want to believe eventually? Are you helping people get to where they want to be? And if you see this weird thing where it's just like, well, we're just tumbling over ourselves because it's the technology. It's the zeitgeist. It's the motion of the day. There is no cultural Marxism. It's not us. It's not me. This is America, baby. You know, with the slight, kind of European zit. This is America. Yes, we're gonna tumble and trip over each other a little bit, get to where we're going. Why did you end the stream so fast earlier today? You ended it at about 2 a.m. Oh yeah, if anyone's joining and it's late where you are, I'm at about 7:36. But hello. I'll try and keep that in mind that some of our audience members are on different time zones, different time scopes, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, we were talking about a little bit heavier topics at the time. We were trying to talk about culture in a little bit deeper sense. Like, are you allowed to be patriotic or nationalistic? That's one of the questions someone brought up. One of the guys that hopped on stage, he wanted to talk about, well, yeah, like I'm not asking permission to believe in a Star Trek future. I want the Star Trek future. That's really weird. I don't understand that fully. We're talking about cops in pink underwear here. We're talking, we could probably talk about like diet foods, health foods. We could talk about, seeing opportunity and cost in the small decisions that we make. We could talk about charity. Instead of buying $20 worth of coffee, donating $20. We could talk about all this stuff. I don't know where Star Trek future comes in. Yeah, the face mask, right? Joyner Lucas, mask off, mask on. Who knows? Corporate speak. Yeah, corporate speaks bad. It's exclusionary, it's competitive and stuff, right? That's what businesses do. They do compete. That's what any good investor should tell you is, this is what like an actual meeting with an investor is like. If you have a good conversation with an investor, and you can picture maybe you say, I want $2 million so I can finish building the product and then really fastly sell it because we're already selling a little bit, but I want to finish it and then really sell it. And one of the gotcha questions they might ask you is like, well, have you thought about culture? You're going to have, 25, 30 people on the bench. You might be cutting it kind of close. I understand that. So is your culture going to be competitive? And you'd be like, no, I want people to feel invited. I want people to want to compete to get the job. But once they're here, they should be competing for our customers a little bit. But that's kind of on a per person basis. And a good or a bad investor, depending on how you see this, might say, well, why not? Why isn't your culture going to be competitive in the corporate world? Right? You're a business, aren't you? You, says everybody. Only for liberals, the rest of us are loving it. Yeah, I don't understand that entirely. Yeah, that's more sad for me to read. Still very sad for me to read. Yeah, I think people should generally strive to treat everyone with respect and dignity. So, Rebel Duster said nobody cared about race anymore. It got thrown around so much it lost its in all seriousness. This was a connected statement, I think. So Rebel Duster says two things. They say American culture at the moment has never been more revolting and disgusting. Nobody cares about race anymore. It got thrown around too much and lost all its seriousness. Or those are disconnected statements. American culture is about isolation. Yeah, this is like a personal belief library. Bro, I would love to help, but I don't think your side uses respect though through the church. I don't totally understand that new normal. If you want to explain. Um, Whoops. Yeah, like the church, wherever it is, um, Catholic churches, Roman Catholic churches. I'm atheist now, but I was Roman Catholic, and I was formerly Roman Catholic. No, there's no burning bush surgeon, but hope those digits are doing well. I hope you're satisfied with how they turned out. Hopefully they're good. Yeah. So, yeah, the Catholic Church preached dignity for people, treating people as moral individuals, worthy of dignity, worthy as being treated as a moral end, because there's no morality without that. And yeah, I think in other cases, yeah, there are churches who think that morality is so closely entwined in the Bible that you treat other people poorly. Other people become a means to an end because of this, or there's a justification. Now it's politics. Now it is going to be, now it was politics. Now it's society. Now it's OnlyFans. Now it's the fact that I see a Korean car manufacturer doing well. So yeah, if anyone wants to hit like and subscribe or whatever too, very cool. I don't know why, but yeah, and so the sort of, this is hard. I believe in speaking truth to power. That's something that someone who displays leadership characteristics, as well as someone who doesn't, maybe they're not a leader, or don't call themselves a leader, but they're willing to do good work, and they're part of that huge social feedback mechanism where we recognize that people who think about the things that they do and the challenges they solved are recognized for that. They're recognized for that. You don't just have a one-sided, a tunnel vision on one goal or one type of person that you work with. And so just in terms of the leadership traits and responding to what some people would call Christian bigotry or otherizing, or a cultural disaster, or it's just the culture. Maybe you agree. You're a person that agrees with it. Hey, Pack Cricket, good to see you again. Good to see you again. Pack was on earlier, on the stream earlier, so good to see you. How you doing? I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We're talking about big statements being kept together and trying to understand stuff a little bit. Yeah, and so it's hard to argue with a Catholic, actually, because not only is there 2,000 years of history, but you have to be able to make these small moves. You have to understand that a Catholic has the theology of God, and they probably also believe in scientific interpretation of nature. Very common. A Catholic might believe in dignity and social justice, and they also believe that there's like political independence, right? God and Jesus didn't talk about most of the crap we argue about in society. Some of the stuff he did, kind of, yeah. Sorry, bro. KK, today's been kind of crap on a stick, my friend. I apologize. I wish it could be better. Have a comfort meal or something. I don't know. That stuff always comes back to bite me. Yeah, make a hard choice, an easy choice, or nothing. I don't know. That's like the really annoying advice. Make a hard choice, make an easy choice. Make no choice at all. All right. No. Yeah. You want a community. Sometimes it doesn't align or allow. A community would be great. Right? It'd be great to have people like-minded, in our actual like geography, who wanted to solve big problems. They were willing to maybe take on more of the problem themselves because they believe in the long-term vision for a solution. They're willing to discuss and make smart choices and take smart risks, as well as turn away smart risks. Those go together. I think being willing to take a risk also means that you're willing to not take a risk. I would say that being willing to take a risk, implies at least being able to maybe see things a different way. Change the sort of goals and the trajectory a little bit. Oh, you messed up your foot? Yeah, lots of bones in our foot, all this kind of stuff. Yes, based, bro, way based. Yeah, your old liberal Catholics, old liberal Catholics were union members, union organizers, all kinds of stuff. That used to be very popular too. Now Catholics are like, oh, what's this Charlie Kirk guy doing? He's got a hot red pink background. I'm just gonna go follow Charlie Kirk then. Yeah, this is conservatism. Seems that way. Seems like there's a lot of very large communities where people didn't actually ask, what was I supposed to believe again? Okay, yeah, I'm thinking for myself by believing this. Nuh-uh. Kirk isn't you. I don't know who Kirk is. Hey, Mudasir, good to see you again. JB, good to see you again. Long live the serfs. Hell yeah. People of the land, let's go. People of the land, let's go. Oh, Charlie Kirk? Yeah. Yeah. I would have thought that the combination of being someone who's willing to say outlandish, outrageous things on the internet and organizing people doesn't take either of those responsibilities seriously. He's probably missing some of the fun of it too, right? You're a young man, you should be living, Sumdum Beats, hey, good to see you again. Sumdum says, I think conservatives have fricked Christianity so hard it could be called blasphemy. And Trace Parallax is also in chat. Yeah, being able to pull away the political question a little bit, is there a reason that we tell car manufacturers to sell their cars at car dealerships? Is there a Christian reason for that? No, but there is an explanation that's secular. So you can be a conservative and not make property rights about Christianity in this case. Build a better secular argument, right? You don't need to lie to people at church and tell them, well, Jesus really wanted to see Ford Motor Co., coming out of this car dealership. So I don't know who Phil your Razzle is. That doesn't sound appealing or whatever. Yeah, the sort of term that's almost gotten used, abused, leveraged is good faith. Good faith. What? When I was in college, right, your teacher, professor, the doctor would ask you like, well, are you happy with the essay you wrote? Are you happy with the question, the way you answered it? Like I'm going to here. This is what I do. I give you a book. Very simple. This book has page numbers. Can you guys see at the bottom? These are page numbers. Okay, and so very simply, if I ask you to write 3 paragraphs based on a set of pages, you can tell me when you're done with that if the thing that you wrote is based on those pages. That is one thing to be happy about. That is what, and so when you go to investigate a car dealership and wonder if Tesla should be allowed to just sell direct to consumer or if there's a reason for these laws, well, that's a set of page numbers that you can go read from. The Bible doesn't have that in there. Right? Your Harvard textbook probably doesn't have that in there. So you have to be able to use practical, applied knowledge to come up with a political belief about something sort of silly and arbitrary. You know, when you talk about gay marriage or your opinion on gender and sex, the hard-hitting issues tonight on Ducks Y. Only tonight, folks. It's not a horror story. It's a beautiful story, as it turns out. It's a very nice story. You can imagine and be charitable and faithful towards what reality in life is actually like. And I've got news for you. If you're a conservative, and I do tend to be a little conservative on some issues, you can even be that way about something like the document, the Constitution. You can be that way about the history of case law in the United States. You're allowed to have a political opinion, and you can even be a little bigoted and oppose gay marriage or something like that. You're allowed to do that. You shouldn't be, you're going to get called out, or you're going to at some point, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but you're going to meet a much bigger horse in that race who has spent their time being charitable and good faith and only dealing with what the world around them has given them to deal with. They're basing their essay, they're basing their argument on facts in the world. So, yeah, very cool. Very cool. This is The Social Contract. It's one of my favorite books ever. It's a political theory book that was written in France by a guy named Jean-Jacques Rousseau, very famous author. Jean-Jacques Rousseau is most often taught alongside Thomas Hobbes and John Locke, if you've heard those names. Yeah, I like my beard. It's nice. Some dumb says Jesus was a communist. Is that right about Jesus? Yeah. Yeah. The historical interpretation of Jesus is a guy that made peasants smarter, stronger. He's a guy that told power directly, don't lie to these people that I'm talking about. Historically, he's a guy who would strip away some of the social notions that people had of different people. So, no, you can't judge. God doesn't talk about people that are wealthy. So maybe right now you don't talk about people that are wealthy. No, God doesn't judge the poor. So you should probably rarely or never do that one. That's, historically how the Gospels have been leveraged. Lots of other ways as well, right? If you're an atheist, I know, leave it in chat. If you're an atheist, the Bible's been used lots of other ways. It's been used to ignore issues as well, too, right? New Normal says, hey, Ducks, why I can help gain audience. Yeah, I mean, if you want to engage in chat and all that stuff, that's cool. I appreciate just that, really, right? Hey, chat, what is of AI this dude to a Muslim Jesus? Muslim Jesus? Yeah, there's any Islamic scholars in chat, feel free to leave it. Any atheist scholars in chat, feel free to leave it. Anyone rabbinical, also feel free to leave it. Whatever it is, whatever it is, whatever it is, whatever it is. Once you know, you know. Communism would be a stateless society, dog. Communism, all right. Yeah. That was Karl Marx. I don't know that it would be stateless. By definition, if you're distributing scarce resources and deciding on what to do with scarce resources with values in mind, based on a deliberative democratic process, I think that would be the opposite of a stateless society. That would be a very big state. Be a very big state. We've got an Ed Gein reference in chat, I think. Yeah, Marxist futures. Marx talked about cultural hegemony. Speaking of the title of the video, folks, title of the video today is Parting to Hit a Magic Subscriber Number. with the Nar voice, right? We're partying to hit a magic subscriber number, man. Culture, la cultura, the culture, cultural freedom. We don't care. I wanted 500 subscribers for some arbitrary reason. I don't care about who you are. This is Ducks Y. This is Ducks Y, guys. If you don't wake up with purpose after cleaning your room, then you're lost. And then you're so lost, folks. Gosh darn it. Gosh darn it, says everybody. New Normal says, I hate my life. I'm sorry, folks. Pick up folks when they're down or ignore it, right? Just walk past it. Those are also things that you can do. A classless, stateless, moneyless society just by definition. Yeah, that's interesting, you know. And so to steelman, the way I would steelman that position that, yeah, communism actually is stateless, classless, all this other stuff. Well, it's that, you know, you can say that having property or having the freedom to choose, having the right to understand where things come from and having input on the actual process itself, these are all sort of fake made up things that we just did as people. People don't naturally think about this stuff. People think about their experience. People think about the way they relate to other people. And so you would very curiously almost have a boundary or some statement or some understanding of what you do, while that thing itself is less important because you're living in a utopian society. That word, be aware of that word, utopia. Not going to quiz you on this. You don't have to write an essay. If you do want to write an essay on utopian thinking, you can absolutely Google utopian thinking. I would be surprised if there's not a Wikipedia article on utopian thinking. Hey, what's up, Big Shark? Good to see you. My name's Duck, aka real name Nathan Swift. Yeah, it's good to see you. You are dystopic. Very nicely done. Very nice rollout, right? Dystopian. Yeah, writing the horse story. I don't really think that's true. I think that well-adjusted adults that are already utilizing, and I am liberal, right? And so well-adjusted adults that are utilizing a system of ownership, capital, and property, you know, manufacturing, supply chains, value chains, all these really fancy words, right? I think those people can find a way to appreciate those things as they get older and build a more mature version of that. I don't think I'm utopian or dystopian. If I'm maybe a little more progressive, but I'm happy with centrist politics, I think I'm right in the middle, Big Shark. You can tell me why I'm wrong if you want. Do I believe in communism? No, I think Karl Marx described a worldview. And this is maybe because he was living at the time of Hegel. So deep philosophical reason, you know, he created this dialectic narrative of history, which showed what roles everyone eventually deterministically plays in a society. And that turned out to not be right, not in the way that he said it was, so it wasn't right. And so also you should imagine that if I say the world is like this, okay, you know, if I tell you something silly like, well, any team LeBron James is on wins a championship. And it turns out I was actually pretty right for much of LeBron James's career, but I'm not right for the other times. Well, there's something deeply problematic with that statement in the first place. LeBron James isn't a championship generating basketball player. He's just a basketball player. So I don't agree with Karl Marx. I think he's a great writer. He tackled important philosophical topics. I believe that the Communist Manifesto is one of the punchier pieces of ideology ever written. It's worth, if you can, so, you know, for folks who are over the age of 25, let's say, if you can unpack this book, and you can unpack the Communist Manifesto and make it through 8 or 9 paragraphs, 10, 12 paragraphs, not even the whole thing, and kind of get the image where he wants you to drop, You're not going to become a Marxist or a communist, right? Reading isn't like that. Education isn't like that. But you might become more aware of why Marx is still significant even in 2025. The way he approached the topic and the problem is very fascinating. Yeah, some dumb says he is, or he, she, they, whoever, is not a communist, but a socialist open to communism. But China would count itself as state-controlled capitalist economy with a party understanding it takes time to smoothly transfer to. Yeah, it's maybe even more complicated than that. If you're a business owner in China, maybe you do have a lot of autonomy and control about your business and some of the immediacy of it. Who knows? Maybe it is more difficult to move laterally within China or to always have the types of conversations or market dialogues. Places like Hong Kong maybe will say, well, look, we don't need, we're gonna separate ourselves from Beijing, and the trade-off is that maybe Hong Kong has to solve their own problems a little more often. And the flip side of this is that we are producing Chinese-oriented, we're still producing, Hong Kong and Chinese-oriented solutions, but just in a way that's really nothing like what you thought it would be. Places like Hong Kong, H-O-N-G. Do I need to say this? Hong Kong. Das Kapital is real shite. I haven't read Das Kapital. It's too long. Not an economist. Yeah, Big Shark, prove it. Prove it that utopia and dystopia can exist. Let me just flip to a random page. How's this? If I have an essay sitting on my desk written by someone named Quentin Skinner, and it starts, and the title of this essay, not being too big brain, but the title of this essay by Quentin Skinner is The Context of Thomas Hobbes's Theory of Political Obligation. And the first assumption is that Thomas Hobbes's ideas about the state of nature bore virtually no relation to any other political idea of its time. It was an isolated phenomenon in English thought. That doesn't sound utopian or dystopian. I would believe or think about something like that. I'm not a middle case brother person, brother chat. Doesn't matter. We're in chat, right? Am I Christian though? Me? Oh, you. Okay. This is where he really breaks down the inherent issue with capitalism. Yeah, the inherent issue with capitalism is that capitalism was often studied, described, and designed in England. England is one of the first pre-market and then full liberal systems. The context at the time was often like big concerns would be like, well, do we have to raise an army and a war fund right now? Maybe it's just better if we go to war, folks. Maybe it's just better if we go to war. And this wasn't just like some weird Western phenomenon. At this time, there were all kinds of wars all over the world. Humans were just very violent. Every society just like, should we go trade? Should we go write poetry and, give some gold to other people? No, we're going to go to war. We're going to go to war, right? Let's go to war, right? Yeah, Thomas Hobbes was right in that strain. Sort of saying that like you're not as free as you think you are, you're not as free as you think you're going to be, but because you do have freedom, this is what society is going to be like. You have an obligation because you have freedom and because you're rational. Do you want to go back to the time when we asked about war all the time? No? Why not? I'm not done. Thomas Hobbes says, I'm not done yet. Right? He's the no-nonsense parent in the political theory world. Thomas Hobbes comes up and he will tell you that the world works one way. We can at least talk about that. If you disagree, that's fine. But what you're not going to disagree with is this idea that you would not go out and you yourself would not act like a raving lunatic. You would not act like a raving, violent lunatic if you were not allowed to do that. And that is what everyone ultimately votes on, is that we have some law versus no law. We have some clear structure of leadership versus no clear structure of leadership. And that's what you get. You don't have to embody this any more than just putting that idea right out there that you see it. Okay, that's all I need to know. I trust you that you see it then. Schmerschmeier. Name dropping. That's egotistical. That's egotistical. I'm just kidding. John Merschmeyer would say that's how it's supposed to be. Every state has to compete and fight because the world exists in anarchy. The world exists in anarchy. Yeah, there's just no structure. Yeah, the state ontology. This is why John Merschmeyer is kind of BS. Is the United States is this. The U.S. is a state ontology, but also it's an ontology unlike any others. It's the anarchic godhead sort of state structure that can itself relate to peace processes, can itself understand the cultural and political drivers of how it accomplishes something. The United States is a state ontology which has no adaptability and flexibility. And it never has. It never has. It never has. Okay? And yeah. And so, I think John Merschmeyer conflates his metaphysics with his pragmatic. If this is true, I would say John Merschmeyer is conflating his metaphysics with his pragmatic prescription. Explain that to me. Explain that to me. I can't understand it. Yeah, new normal 42. Dab, 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 dab. Dab on them. Dab on them, folks. I think workers owning the means of production would be good. I do too. Not like in a communist way, right? Not in like a communist way. Yeah. Workers should be able to compete and contribute to the vision that's being established, whatever that is. Why would you not? That's called human capital, by the way. Human capital. HCM. I'll put this in chat too. So human capital management can span truly from the pre-recruitment process in a business all the way through succession planning, even to executive recruiting. So it expands then from going just very long, goes from being long into being also very deep and tall. Your technology strategy might be about human capital management. Maybe you want your employees sitting in front of the best technologies the world has to offer. Maybe you want your teams building those technologies. Maybe you want your teams telling customers about those technologies. Maybe you want your team to be part of that adaptive or evolutionary process within that. So, so for workers owning the means of production, if you're a good business producer, owner, whatever it is, you want to be able to have, at some point, you want to be able to build out both a corporate sort of control and understanding mechanism within the depth. And most employees would say, we want this too. You're a worker, right? You're a worker bee. Well, wouldn't you rather know before you get hired that you have to click the right buttons, and those buttons are there for a reason? And maybe that's 5% of the job, maybe it's 25% of the job. And the way people get to that point might be part of human capital management on a sort of more grandiose view. It can also, more like actual HCM, if you look it up, They'll talk about upskilling and training people, but on what? On soft skills, on technology, on just any topic they want, just achieving higher degrees of education. Oh, word. Hey, bro, can you tell me the executive branch is doing anything right? Also below in standard. Yeah, I don't think so. So you're religious? No, I'm an atheist. So the executive branch is pulling into the foundation of politics. It's not that complicated, right? You've got a floor, you got a ceiling. The executive branch is saying that the United States is who we define it to be. I'm so sick of it all. Like little children. Fickle. Irresponsible. That means you're religious. Okay. Moving forward got me. Good trick. Good trick. What does religion mean? I don't know. Do you want to offer your definition for me? I don't know. I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. Supernatural powers and stuff like this. So you have an axiom. I'm just going to guess moving forward. You have some axiomatic. You have a tiny God-shaped box or Godhead that you are very rudely going to ask me to believe in. That's not Socratic. That's like Jay Dyer's version of being Socratic moving forward. It's very embarrassing for you. It's incredibly embarrassing for you. Oh, what's up? A haunted house background could be fun. Ooh. Yeah, moving forward. So I would invite you to cover how religion relates to our psychology and evolves, right? Why don't you do a real topic? Why don't you talk about something in reality people are interested in? Yeah. Well, how about this? How about you get the fuck off the stream for 24 hours? That was easy. That was fun. Trump is bad. You seem good to me. Okay, cool. Gotta go, but before I forget, a haunted house background could be fun. Yeah, I would love a haunted house, Bob. Bob the moderator, just Bob. I've been looking up cloth backgrounds on what was that one? What was it? I forgot what it was about. I forgot what it was about. On Amazon and eBay for the studio. This is what a bunch of streamers do: is they buy a bunch of stupid shit they don't need. Marcelo, Brazil. Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you, Marcelo. Good to see you. How are y'all doing tonight? You guys feeling good? Happy? Healthy? Good. Good. Let's go. I hate that. I'm sorry, guys. You guys just saw me lose my shit on stream. I don't care if people are trying to play, if they're playing the atheist or the theist or whatever the fuck it is. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit. I don't care. I don't care. I get to be your clown so you get to try something new you learned on Discord. No, because you didn't go to the library. You didn't go and spend your entire day learning about a topic you didn't know about. So now I get to be your monkey. I get to be your clown for that. Thank you. Thank you. No, I'm 35 years old, by the way. I'm 35 years old. Do you know what I did during college? No. Do you know what I do on the internet? Do you know what I do the 23 hours a day I'm not online? No, you don't. You aren't my clown. I'm legit worried. I wouldn't want anyone to be worried. Yeah, I don't know. I've got a MediaTek 520 in my PCU, Bob. My CPU is a MediaTek 520. It does have 2 cores dedicated to things like, and it has a small dedicated portion of the CPU as a GPU. But I think it's like, it's like even like half of, like basic Radeon graphics or something. So like, I don't know if my computer could actually replace a background. I think I would need a green screen because it's just a Chromebook. No, I'd rather have the 3D physical space at some point. I don't think people need that right away. Yeah. So yeah, it's tempting too, right? People, one of the mistakes I don't want to make, and who I don't want to be as a person, is to get so excited that I can see myself on a screen and that there's a couple people that want to talk. That's cool. And your Chromebook is as yeah. You guys want to see it? I got chat up so I can see you guys. I don't know if I'm playing the video. It shouldn't be playing. It should be paused. I'm not watching myself. I'm watching chat just in case different messages come through, which sometimes it does. It's just YouTube's AI or YouTube's whatever. But yeah, I don't want to be this person that goes out and buys all this crap that I don't want or need, or that doesn't help the audience in some way, doesn't help the message, all that kind of stuff. I don't want to have to combine stuff that doesn't actually make sense because no one thought about it. Nobody thought about it, folks. Mom and dad didn't think about it. Sister, brother, cousin, your pastor, your atheist friend. Nobody thought about it. So how about it? How about it, folks? How do I sound? It's your buddy Duck. This is what I get for for doing the stupid YouTube algorithm, right? What was it, right? What was it? I titled this "Party to Hit the Magic Subscriber Number." Let's get to 500 subs, folks. Nah. Just breathe, Duck. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Bob's my main man, right? Bob's the guy. Bob's my main friend. I appreciate it. Woo! You guys want to still talk about the culture? Culture, la cultura, the culture, cultural freedom. What do you guys want to talk about? Dude, at least don't be mad at me. I'm talking about the light worker. I don't get mad at people. Did I get mad at someone? I didn't think so. Burb. Bob is gonna burb. Yeah, should I just say this is an atheist channel? Hairbrush? A new small talk hairbrush. A few days ago, oh, I don't remember. I don't remember. A few days ago, what? Right now, when you're, so new normal, I'm 35. One of the things I learned on my journey from 25 to 35 was that your few days ago comes with you to the present moment precisely and exactly. Yeah, new small talk. I don't know. Maybe a hairbrush. The beard's not going anywhere, but I could imagine the aesthetic of some of this stuff goes someplace else. The aesthetic of some of this stuff goes someplace else. I spend 5% of my time on. I spend 5% of 5% of my time on aesthetic stuff. So who knows? Streamed Christianity. How do you stream Christianity? How do I do that? How do I stream Christianity? And from what perspective or what lens? Who does that? Your beard like a pirate with a hat that says CIA. Very cool. Yeah. Why though, Bob? Why though? If I was actually like former CIA, I'd be set. That's all I would ask for. If I was former CIA, I would say, give me the postcard that tells me what I already know I can't and shouldn't talk about. And that's it. And that's it. Yeah. Just use a USB stick to upload, like a fake duck. Yeah, Nathan Swift was part of the CIA for a while. That'd be fun. Yeah, we need more guys like John Kiriakou or I think Andrew Bustamante who invest a ton of time in education. They help people understand the things they want to know better, which is cool. That's what people ask for. I think from John Kiriakou is one of my favorite streamers. One of the things I like about John, his show is called The Deprogram Show. But yeah, he's very no nonsense. Hey, what's up, Travis? Bam, bam. We got Travis the Thunderstick in chat. What's going on, everyone? Everyone say hi to Travis the mod. And Seb does stuff. Good to see you again. Good to see everybody. Yeah, but like John Kiriakou is very straightforward. He would tell you that, like, look, who knows? Yeah, the United States was at war with Al Qaeda really since the 1990s. We would use geopolitical influence to try to get to them if we could, as much as possible, and we'd keep doing that. We would keep doing that as long as Bin Laden wanted to hurt America, hurt the United States. But the other side of that is that, like, what Bin Laden learned from Mujahideen in Afghanistan and stuff wasn't right. He had his own ideas. There was no reason that Bin Laden, in reality, right? Why didn't we have a story at that time that, yeah, the Mujahideen looked at people holding the bag and they would say, well, this guy is a farmer, this guy is a carpenter, Yeah, this guy was maybe a little bit of a bully when he was a kid, but he doesn't do that now. He drives a truck now. What do you think this guy is? Well, he's a fighter if you're going to fly helicopters in our airspace. Yeah, he's a Mujahideen if you're going to fly a Russian or an American helicopter here. The guy that drives a truck also knows how to shoot or something. And Bin Laden didn't believe that opinion. He didn't believe that, well, yeah, good Mujahideen asks, if you decide you're gonna be a warrior in Islam or something, you should ask, who your enemy actually is, why, and when that stops, where that stops. Thanks, Bob. I appreciate you, homie. I appreciate you. We got barbells for Bob, too. We got barbells so I can get buff, so my mods can see me getting buffer. Yeah. But yeah, John Kiriakou's, I obviously couldn't put words in his or Andrew Bustamante's mouth, but both those guys are very cool. I like them a lot. Even though I believe that the non-normie skills where they are rumored to have existed or why, those are supposed to be used for peaceful purposes only, right? Go find a new problem. Have fun, non-normie. Have fun. Oh, you thought you'd be free? Yes. I was born in the darkness. Bin Laden. Yeah. Yeah. I think there had to have been some flip where Bin Laden saw the geopolitical reality, where he believed the influence of any power in the world on the Islamic world was larger. Just the force production was larger. There was no reason for them to not to, and therefore Al Qaeda had to be like a Mujahideen group, but with a global purpose. Yeah. We had Bin Laden by the balls from day one. Yeah, that's one of the hard things. Who knows? Maybe Bin Laden was a beautiful soul or had some beautiful ideas. It's difficult to see that when you see that, well, 98% of your time appeared to be committed to creating groups willing to commit acts of violence against anyone. Muslim on Muslim violence. Gang, right? Yeah, gang, right? That's going to do it. No, we have to be diplomatic. We have to find a way to talk, but this looks the same. This is the same kind of hockey stick. Who knows? Oh, let's call it for the night. I shouldn't have done 2 streams tonight. I lost my shit on that one dude. I don't think they're going to be back. I feel bad. Whatever. Don't do thoughtless, repetitive trolling, right? You know, if you want to go whatever it is you're trying to accomplish or achieve. All right, have a good night, everyone. I'll talk to y'all later. Good to see you.